To install the outer frame, first, put the outer window frame in. Make sure the motor wires don't touch the wall. The motor wire should be led to the wall opening first, to go. Then pull the motor wire out. When the outer frame is placed in the opening, the motor wire cannot be pressed. Then use a level to adjust the level. When screwing screws, pay attention. Screws are prohibited in the sliding slot. Screws can only be driven into the designated or marked slot. Finally, screw the outer frame. Note that the screws should be sunk into the frame. Note that both upper and lower frames and side frames need screws. Screws should be driven into the specified or marked slot. The 8th step is to install the movable sash. Before installing the movable sash, test whether the slider is smooth. Then use a tool to hold the slider. First, tilt the active fan 45 degrees and slowly lean in. Move the slider down. Then insert the lower bolt into the slider. The bolt just needs to be inserted into the slider. It can't protrude from the slider. Use your finger to press the bolt flat to prevent the lifting of the active fan from being blocked. Insert the bolt into the balancer. And use a rubber hammer to tap. Make sure it's fully inserted. Then tighten the lower pin screw. Pay attention to tighten the screws on both sides. Then, turn the active shirt over. Move the slider down. Then insert the upper bolt into the slider first. The latch should just be inserted into the slider. It can't protrude from the slider. Press the bolt with your finger. Then tighten the fixing screws of the upper latch. Pay attention to tighten the screws on both sides. Then install the movable mountain cover plate. Now install the rack. Make sure the side and upper edges of the rack are flush. Fix the upper and lower ends of the movable mountain rack, and fix them with screws respectively. Now lift the movable mountain up and down several times, to test whether it can run normally. The 9th step is to install the fixed fan. First, lift the fixed fan into the opening. First, tilt the fixed fan 45 degrees, and slowly lean in. When inserting, be careful not to press the motor wires, and insert the motor wire next to the edge. Before fixing the fixed fan, manually lift the active fan, manually lift it up, and then press it to the bottom. Both sides must be level. When fitting, pay attention to the engagement of gears. The gears and racks must be just snug. Now, we need to tighten the screws of the fixed fan. And finally install the fixed fan's wire. The 10th step is threading the motor wire. Now we need to pass the motor wire through the bearing block, and the second bearing block. The first one doesn't need to be threaded. After passing through the bearing block, make a slip knot. Then connect the motor wire to the quick connector. Cover the quick connector's lid. Then pull it slightly to see if it is connected properly. The 11th step is to connect the control box. Now, connect the motor wire to the control box. Connect the motor wire to the DC motor. Then tighten the screws. After tightening, pull it to see if it is connected properly. Then L and N on the control box are for high voltage, 220 volts. Connect the wires. After connecting the power, you can test it. Note that the control box and the motor are not connected at the same time. Connect the wires according to the panel prompts. Now start testing whether the active fan can run normally. Use the remote control to control. Can the movable window sash operate normally? Finally, install the control box power supply onto the power supply box, and then tighten the screws to secure the box. Then close the control box cover. The 12th step is to install the motor cover. Now, we need to cover the motor cover. The motor wires must be smoothed out to avoid crushing the motor wires. Then use a rubber hammer to knock the motor cover. And knock the motor cover firmly. The 13th step is to install the armrest. Now lift the armrest up. Then tighten the fixing screws. Note that both sides of the European standard slot need screws. Then stick the armrest rubber strip. The 14th step is to install the rack cover. First, install the rack cover back. You can use your hands to press it or use tools. Then tighten the screws of the rack cover. Then stick the rack cover rubber strip. The 15th step is the final complete debugging. Then test whether the entire window can operate normally. Use the remote controller to control. Test the rise. There is no obstruction during the process. It can rise normally. Continue to use the remote controller to control. Test the descent. There is no obstruction during the process. It can descend normally.